Danny Koker built Count's Customs with his bare hands, his blood, and every ounce of passion he had for cars. He turned a small shop in Las Vegas into a nationally televised empire that millions of people watch every single week. He gave people jobs, opportunities, and a place to belong. He treated his crew like family. He stood up for them when things got hard, defended them when outsiders questioned his decisions, and poured everything he had into making Count's Customs something the whole team could be proud of. And some of them repaid him by stealing from him, lying to him, and betraying everything he stood for. Today, we are counting down the 5 worst employees to ever walk through the doors of Count's Customs. Some of these stories will shock you. One of them will make you absolutely furious. And by the time we are done, you will understand exactly why Danny Koker now guards his circle the way he guards his most prized classic cars. Let's get into it. Before we count down, you need to understand what kind of man Danny Koker actually is. He did not stumble into fame by accident. He earned it slowly, painfully, and with grease-stained hands. He grew up in Detroit, Michigan, the heartland of American car culture, where muscle cars roared down every street and engine sounds were the soundtrack of his childhood. His father, Danny Koker Sr., was a musician who played with the Cathedral Quartet, and that love of music mixed with a deep love of cars created something unique and powerful inside Danny from an early age. From the time he was a teenager, he was under hoods, fixing broken engines, and bringing rusted old machines back to life like they were works of art. While other kids wanted to be rock stars or professional athletes, Danny wanted to restore something forgotten and make it beautiful again. That drive never left him. It only grew stronger with each passing year. When he moved to Las Vegas in the early 1990s, he had a vision and almost nothing else. He built Count's Customs from nothing but determination and skill. The shop started as a personal project, a place to maintain his own growing collection of vehicles that most people had already written off as junk. But word spread fast through the Vegas community. People saw what he was doing, and they wanted a piece of it. They wanted their cars transformed the way Danny transformed them. Danny did not just restore cars. He transformed them into something better, something special, something that told a story. His work had a personality to it, a rebellious energy that respected tradition while refusing to be caged by it. Flame paint jobs, low riding stances, and roaring engines became signatures of his craft. Celebrity clients came. Collectors came. Eventually, television came calling. Through guest appearances on Pawn Stars, where Danny served as the go-to vehicle expert, producers noticed that audiences could not take their eyes off him. In 2012, Counting Cars launched on the History Channel, and Danny Koker became a household name overnight. But fame is a strange thing. It draws people to you, not all of them for the right reasons. The shop that once felt like a close-knit family started to change as the cameras arrived. The pressure of TV production was intense and relentless. Builds that took months in real life had to be compressed into 30-minute episodes for television. Standards had to be maintained. Business had to keep running. And Danny had to trust the people around him to hold up their end and do their jobs with excellence. Most did. Some absolutely did not. These are their stories, and they reveal something important about what happens when loyalty is tested and trust is broken. Number 5 on our countdown is a man named Scott Jones. In the early seasons of Counting Cars, Scott was the shop manager and the man responsible for keeping the finances organized and the operation running on schedule every single day. While Danny was the creative heartbeat of Count's Customs, the soul of the shop, Scott was meant to be the steady, responsible backbone that kept everything functioning. He was blunt, no nonsense, and not afraid to tell Danny when something cost too much or when an idea was over budget. He pushed back on wild ideas, kept a careful eye on the budget, and made sure deadlines were respected. In theory, that kind of voice is exactly what a growing business needs to stay profitable and sustainable. The problem was the tension that built up between them. Almost every episode featuring Scott turned into a back and forth between his cautious, cost-conscious approach and Danny's bigger, bolder vision for what the build should be. Some fans found it entertaining to watch them disagree. Others found it frustrating to see the conflict. But the on-screen friction was just the surface of something deeper, something more complicated underneath. By the time season 2 ended, Scott was gone. No farewell episode. No dramatic exit speech. He just disappeared from the crew like he had never been there. Fans flooded online forums with theories about what happened. Was he fired for some hidden reason? Did something go really wrong behind the scenes? The show offered no answers to these questions. The truth turned out to be far less dramatic than the rumors suggested. Scott moved to Tennessee to be closer to his family and the people he loved. It was a personal decision made for personal reasons, not a firing, not a scandal, not some dramatic blow-up. He later opened his own automotive business called Koker's Extreme Automotive in Tennessee and even appeared on Netflix's Swap Shop, showing that his career did not end at Counts Customs. So Scott's story does not end in disgrace or disappointment. But his time on Counting Cars left a mark because it showed what happens when two very different personalities are forced to share a screen, a shop, and a vision for what the business should become. He never quite fit into the world Danny was building, and in the end, the road led him somewhere else entirely. Sometimes people are just not meant to work together, and that is okay. Number 4 on our countdown is Rolly Sabo, and this one genuinely hurts to talk about. If you watched Counting Cars anywhere from seasons 2 through 6, you know Rolly and you remember him clearly. He was the lead detailer, the man responsible for making sure every single car that rolled out of Counts Customs looked absolutely perfect. And he was extraordinary at his job. Whether it was a lowrider with a mirror-shine finish so bright you could see your reflection or a rare classic with delicate chrome accents that needed careful attention, Rolly treated every car like it deserved the same obsessive attention to detail. His perfectionism was something to witness and admire. But what made Rolly truly special on screen was not his technical skill alone. It was his personality. He had a thick Hungarian accent that made everything he said funnier, an enormous smile that was impossible to fake, and a comedic energy that kept the whole shop loose and laughing even during brutal work days. He danced around the shop. He cracked jokes constantly. He made the people around him feel lighter and happier. Fans adored him. Social media lit up whenever he appeared on screen. He was the kind of cast member who made a show feel real and genuine, because everything about him seemed authentic and true. Then in 2017, something went very wrong. Thousands of dollars worth of professional detailing equipment went missing from Counts Customs. The kind of expensive gear that is not cheap, not replaceable overnight, and absolutely essential to running a shop at the level Danny demanded. Shortly after the equipment disappeared, Rolly was gone too. No explanation. No goodbye scene. No official statement from Counts Customs about what had happened. Just silence and confusion. The timing told the story that no one was willing to tell out loud. Fans were devastated by his disappearance. Many refused to believe it. Rolly had seemed so warm, so genuine, so loyal to the shop and to Danny personally. The idea that he could have taken anything felt impossible to some loyal viewers. But the facts were the facts. Rolly did not return to the show, and Counts Customs never welcomed him back. He eventually surfaced in Las Vegas, running his own detailing business called Rock and Rolly Custom Detailing. He still works with cars. He still gets good reviews from customers. But his chapter at Counts Customs closed in the worst possible way, and the hole he left behind in the show was one that was never truly filled with the same energy and warmth. Number 3 is Shannon Ekow, and his story is the most bittersweet of the 5 because there is no betrayal or theft involved. Shannon was the lead motorcycle builder at Counts Customs, and in a shop full of incredibly talented people, he still stood out for his quality and craftsmanship. His work on bikes was extraordinary and special. Every chopper he touched, every custom street cruiser he built from the ground up, carried a level of quality that spoke before he ever opened his mouth. Shannon was not loud. He was not dramatic. He was not the guy chasing the camera or craving the spotlight like some people on TV shows. He was a craftsman in the truest, deepest sense of the word, and that made him easy to overlook on a TV show built around big personalities and drama. But the fans who paid close attention knew what Shannon meant to Counts Customs and what he contributed. His bikes had soul. They had a quiet elegance that only comes from someone who genuinely loves what they are doing, not for the applause, but for the thing itself. He built machines that were meant to be ridden and admired for generations to come. And Danny knew his value completely. For years, Shannon was a steady, reliable, brilliant presence in the shop every single day. The trouble started when Counting Cars began to shift its entire focus. As the ratings grew bigger and bigger, the show leaned harder into drama and conflict. Arguments were played up for effect. Tension was manufactured and exaggerated. The storytelling became more about conflict and less about craftsmanship and the actual building. That works great for television ratings. It keeps casual viewers engaged in watching. But for someone like Shannon, who came to the shop to build great bikes and nothing else, the new direction felt deeply wrong. His screen time started to shrink. By season 7, he was barely appearing. By season 8, he had essentially faded out entirely. There was no public fight or dramatic argument. No angry statement. Shannon did not burn any bridges on the way out. He simply stopped being part of a show that no longer felt like the place he had signed up to work in. And he kept building bikes. He is still active in the Las Vegas motorcycle scene today, still turning out work that turns heads, still living by the same code he always had. Shannon's departure was not a scandal or controversy, but it was a loss. It was a quiet exit of a man who would not compromise his craft for a camera, and Counting Cars was never quite as authentic after he was gone. Number 2 on our countdown is Mike Henry, known to fans everywhere as Horny Mike. If Shannon Ekow was the quiet soul of Counts Customs, Mike Henry was its fireworks and energy. He arrived wearing a horned helmet, sporting a mohawk, and dripping with a personality so large it could fill the shop twice over. And he backed every bit of it up with extraordinary artistic talent. Mike was a lead airbrush artist, and what he did with a spray can was genuinely remarkable and stunning. He could take a car that was already a great build and turn it into something that belonged in a museum. Flames that seemed to move and dance. Skulls with depth and shadow that looked three-dimensional. Full murals on motorcycle tanks that told entire stories in just a few square inches. His work was unlike anything else on the show. Mike had a background in custom paint and three-dimensional sculpting before he ever set foot in Counts Customs, and Danny recognized his skill immediately. For a long stretch of the show's run, Mike was one of the most beloved figures in the entire cast. He mixed humor with artistry in a way that felt effortless. He was the kind of person who made the work feel joyful even on the hardest days. But great artists do not always thrive inside rigid systems and rules. Mike had strong opinions about his work and where it should go. He wanted to push boundaries, experiment with bolder concepts, and take creative risks that made people stop and stare. Danny, as the shop owner and the brand's guardian, sometimes needed things to stay on message, to fit the client's vision, to meet a deadline that could not be pushed back or extended. Those two worldviews did not always line up. Creative tension started building between them. The show's production schedule made things even harder. Airbrush work is slow by nature. Getting a piece exactly right takes hours, sometimes days. Television does not wait for perfection. Over time, Mike's appearances on the show became less frequent. His role shrank. He did not leave with a dramatic blow-up or a public accusation. He simply shifted his focus toward his own path, launching Horny Mike Designs, where he creates custom airbrushed art, helmets, and accessories under his own name. He still appears at car shows and fan events. He still does occasional work for Counts Customs on special projects. There is no bad blood between them, just a parting of creative roads. But the shop lost its most visually spectacular voice when Mike stepped back, and every fan who watched those early seasons knows it deeply. Number 1 on our countdown is the name that still makes longtime fans shake their heads in disbelief and disappointment. Joseph Frontiera. Unlike everyone else on this list, Joseph was never a face on the show. You never saw him in the shop cracking jokes or leaning over a build working on cars. He was the bookkeeper. He was the man Danny trusted completely to handle the money, manage the payroll, pay the bills, and keep the financial engine of Counts Customs running clean and honest. In a business like that, the bookkeeper holds an enormous amount of power and an even greater responsibility. Danny placed that trust in Joseph completely without hesitation. And Joseph betrayed it in the coldest, most calculated way imaginable. Over time, Joseph Frontiera stole more than $75,000 from Counts Customs. He did not make an accounting mistake. He did not borrow money with any plan to pay it back. He deliberately redirected company funds to cover his own personal expenses and his own lifestyle choices. He used the shop's money to make a down payment on a Range Rover for himself. He used it to buy airline tickets for personal travel that had nothing to do with the business. And to cover his tracks completely, he forged Danny Koker's signature on official documents and created false records designed to make the stolen money look like legitimate company expenses. This was not a moment of weakness or desperation. It was a scheme, carefully built piece by piece, by someone who sat inside Danny's trust every single day and chose to exploit it without hesitation or guilt. When Danny and his team discovered what had happened, the betrayal hit like a hammer. This was not a disgruntled employee who argued about creative credit or craftsman who felt underappreciated and wanted attention. This was someone who reached into the pockets of the business Danny had spent his entire life building, took what was not his, and tried to vanish without anyone ever finding out. In 2016, Counts Customs filed a lawsuit not only against Joseph Frontiera, but also against Randstad USA, the staffing agency that had placed him at the shop, arguing that the agency had failed to properly screen him before sending him through the door. Joseph had already disappeared from the operation long before the lawsuit became public knowledge. When the story finally came out, fans who had watched every single episode without ever hearing his name suddenly understood a great deal about why things at Counts Customs had felt tighter and more guarded in the seasons that followed. Joseph Frontiera did not just steal money. He stole something far harder to replace. He stole Danny's ability to trust easily, to open the door to someone new and believe in them the way he once had without question. After this betrayal, everything behind the scenes got stricter. Controls were put in place. The innocent openness of the early shop days was gone for good. Joseph was never heard from publicly after the lawsuit. No interviews. No social media presence. He simply disappeared from any searchable record of his own life, and as far as anyone can tell, he has stayed off the grid ever since. While every other person on this list went on to build something new after leaving Counts Customs, Joseph Frontiera left behind nothing but a trail of missing money and shattered trust that took years to rebuild. Danny Koker has never been a man who gives up easily. He kept going even when the people he trusted most let him down. The names on this countdown represent some of the hardest lessons any business owner can learn. If you want more stories like this one, subscribe so you never miss what really happens behind the cameras.